Okay, it is 9:43 a.m. and I have not traded anything. I am looking at TSOI because it had a nice spike from this 20 level as high as 29, so the range is there. I feel a little salty. I could have been in at 243, and it did make a turnaround when it had this nice spike and it came back to the VWAP level, and that was a nice opportunity to trade this. I just hesitated and it really worked out the way it turned around. And now it's not as nice anymore because there is a 800K seller at 25, so that's definitely preventing this thing from having the spike here. A downtrend, a consolidation, and a move towards the upside is going to have to take out that person at 25 first, or maybe that person at 25 is going to disappear. Maybe it will dump all its shares at the bid, and it still holds itself together. But that's it with TSOI. No interest with MULN at the moment. I guess DPLS is starting the downtrend. This could be a morning panic bounce play. Nothing with AABB, nothing with IOUS. IQST isn't doing anything near that potential 60-cent breakout. So I'll be looking at, which one is it? Yeah, DPLS and TSOI, but at the moment I don't see anything that I want to trade, although DPLS might be a potential setup. It is 9:48 a.m. and I had a early sell, and I want to collect my thoughts before I try to maybe lie to myself. But DPLS showed that there was a million share bidder at the 65 level at some point, and when that million share seller showed up, it gave me more interest in getting in. In theory, I could be in at 65.6 like I was at 9:47. Right here, 65.6. Was that really my entry? Alright, well, I guess I nailed the bottom there. It was a buy at the ask at 661, but I got filled at the bid. And I liked how there was this wall right here, a million share bidder at 65, so it could really support it and make a move towards the upside. I actually would be getting out of this trade right now if I was still in it, because I don't like how close VWAP is to this range right here. And if I had, in theory, a trend line, it would have broken it now. Even if it continues to follow it, I just want something nice and simple. But now it's at the 671 level. That's pretty cool. And I had my sell at 669, and that was at 948. So I was in right here, and I got out right here at 669 because I didn't like, again, how VWAP was super close to the level. There was a million share bidder, and it did do a turnaround, and I was in it because I saw that million share bidder show up. Because worst case, I'm in at 656 and it starts to fail, but at least it's going to probably catch itself at 65 flat because of that million share bidder. Maybe it disappears by the time it downtrends to that level, but in theory, it could be a sign that it could turn around. And I would have gone now, even though now it's in the 6/7s, just to play it safe because of how I had this trend line right here from, this corner to the first uptrending candle. I didn't make much. I might have actually not have traded enough shares because in theory, well, no, actually it was fine because I placed the order with a limit at 661, and worst case I would be out at 65. I think I traded that correctly. Let's just see. If not, definitely I should have had maybe 10,000 shares, which would have been a little nerve-wracking because that would have been a $600 position. And even though I've traded much larger position sizes, it's been a while since I've done that, especially in this market. But let's see what that would have been. 5,000 shares, and I was in theory, I got hit at the ask, 661. Worst case, I'm out at 65, so 330 becomes, if I can put the right number. Okay, yeah, that would have been a $5 risk level, so I should have traded 10,000 shares. I don't know how much I'm up from this trade. I don't think I'm up that much, but it is uptrending. Definitely not initially, is doing it later. Perhaps if I was still in the trade, I would do something like this. Maybe now from the actual uptrending price action, make a trend line right here. And then I'd be getting out actually right now because we're right at VWAP. It's not under the trend line in this case, but it's at VWAP, and I'd be out, even though I can try to go to like 70 or maybe even be green on the day. That would just be me trading it as safely as possible. I'm surprised I nailed the bottom there. I'm surprised. That's about it for right now. TSOI hasn't really been doing anything nice, and yeah, there's a lot of sellers at the ask too, so that's not helping the uptrend. That's nice, 100K bidder at 68. This thing could pierce through VWAP. Somebody just hits it at the ask, and there we go, we're at VWAP. That's nice. And I had my sell at 67. Okay. I'll make an update to see and show what this one does later. Really good entry. I wasn't sized appropriately. That was my bad. I should have had 10,000 shares, but I don't think my sell was too horrible. It is 10:08 a.m. and I want to make an update as to why I didn't trade MULN in this downtrend right here. It did do a nice downtrend in that it broke the day low right here, and I drew a trend line, as you can see, from the corner of this candle to this one. And when it broke through, you would say, okay, well, now you should be long. It's very similar to the trade that I had with MULN the other day, which was right here, where it broke the day low, and then it looked like it was going to turn around. You could also draw a trend line probably, and it would show that it broke past it eventually, and it was consolidating, and you have a risk level, the day low. And this one did make a move towards the upside, and then, you know, I also traded it before that. I'm not sure if it's still going to be here, or if it is here, if I can even see it. But I did trade this setup more than one time with MULN, and this one can still do it. But I'm not in this one because I just think it's less likely going to do it. It's not as nice. When it first did the drop, as you can see in that other one that I mentioned, right, it was playing off of $3, which was a significant psychological number, $3, how it broke past it, right? It broke under $3, and then it was downtrending. This caused a lot of panic, and then what happened was that it was starting to consolidate, and it could have really played off of that level, and that it's going to just break under it briefly and then come back and just get a lot of weak hands out of it. It was a really significant level, the $3. And another significant one was the other one that I traded when it did the drop towards the 280s. It might have been this wick right here, if not this one. Probably this one. And those were two important levels, a $3 psychological level, and on top of that, the 280 level, which was just at the time very significant support. I think somebody's at the door. Sorry about that. So that's why I didn't trade this one, although this one could have very well, you know, and then it could still do it. It could still make a move towards the, I guess not anymore. Yeah, I'd be cutting it. That's why I didn't trade this one, but it could have still have done it. It could have still have went towards VWAP, which would have been nice. But that's why I didn't consider this one, even though it had all the signs like the other two times that I traded something like this. It just wasn't at a very significant level. 264, I mean, you could say maybe something off of here, but it wasn't as nice as the 280s right here, and it wasn't as nice as the $3 level. It just wasn't, again, it just wasn't nice, even though it broke the trend line and it was consolidating. That's why I didn't trade it, although that's a lot of volume for it to not really downtrend that much. I guess it's still downtrending, but yeah, that's why I didn't trade it. And in this case, it was the right call. It still could have made a move towards the upside, but I would have been fine missing out because I just felt like the risk wasn't there. It wasn't worth it. And there's nothing else right now. DPLS did continue the option, but if I traded it perfectly with the right amount of shares, 10,000 shares, and the sell, you know, when it broke the trend line or it got to VWAP at the 6.8 level, that would have been a give or take like a $25 or maybe a $30 gain. I'm not extremely sure with 10,000 shares. Instead, I think I made just like $5 or something like that. I think it was a great learning lesson, but I was definitely a lot better yesterday when I traded AABB compared to this. A lot of room for improvement. I'll continue to look at MULN and DPLS, but right now I don't see anything that I want to trade. Okay, it is 8:18 p.m. and I am up on the day. Yeah, $6.50 trading DPLS for that morning panic bounce rate. That was a bit later. It happened a little later. It wasn't like at 9:34. It was in the 9:40s, and it worked. But I was undersized. I just should have had the balls to really just be sized appropriately for a $10 risk level. Obviously, it would have stunk if it didn't work out and I had to cut losses quickly and I would lose $10. But at the end of the day, $10 is $10. And right now, I just need to get good at more experience and just trading larger slowly and just working on the same patterns. And I might be jaded. And when I do go much larger, I lose on that one and then all the other ones. Blah, blah, blah. Eventually, I have to really start working forward and sizing up on my positions, or at least in this case, trading a $10 risk level, which would have been proper. The sell wasn't too bad. It had a little stutter before it actually started the uptrend and it made a nice move towards VWAP. I don't hate that part too much. I really hate the part that I just wasn't sized correctly the most. I need to get better with that. And as for MULN, this was the last time I believe I recorded. It did make a bottom here, and that did turn around. It didn't really play off of a certain level, at least if you ask me, but it did do a nice move from there. And at that point, I just left it alone. I didn't really necessarily want to trade anything else. There wasn't really anything that ideal, nothing with AABB. IQST did break the 60 level, but it just did it so horribly, and the highest has gone to a 63.5. I saw it right when it first started to get past the 60 level, which was, yeah, it must have been like right here, right? And then uptrended a little, but there were always a lot of sellers at the ask, and as you can see, when it got to 61, and then immediately shot back to the 58 level, and it did uptrend eventually, but I just don't like how that doesn't move with a lot of volume. It's very little volume, and it's very choppy, very jumpy, so I left that one alone, unfortunately. It just doesn't have the volume for me to want to trade it. TSOI, I had a small interest in it in the beginning, but that was about it. This price action was just weird. I wouldn't have traded that. And this one was up on the day, but they ran out of volume and it stopped looking nice. That's all I have for today and this week. I just should have been sizing appropriately with DPLS. Maybe I could have been a little more patient and risked off of my entry, which was a really good entry, and that would have made me profitable even more. But that's hindsight, and I'm just, you know, I'm just really on the path of trying to make sure I'm sized correctly, and as long as I keep working on that, I think everything else will fall into place. That's all I have for today.